everybody, good morning and welcome to That's Football for your latest transfer news. Sadio Mane to Bayern Munich is going to happen. It could be a matter of hours, it could be a matter of days. And also, Man City, Kalvin Phillips is progressing. I want to talk a little bit about Southgate at the end as well. But let's start off with this. Fabrizio Romano's tweeted about it this morning. Personal terms and deal expected to be done with Bayern Munich for Sadio Mane. It's not breaking news in the sense that Mane will sign for Bayern Munich. Liverpool preparing for that, not just with the signing of Darwin Núñez, who can play from the left, but also the signing of Diaz back in January. Liverpool spotted this potential issue and have dealt with it. What I would say is, I'm not a Liverpool fan, far from it, but Mane will be a loss to the Premier League and will be a loss to Liverpool. I've read a lot of about this recently, and I think that the general consensus from Liverpool fans is that they're very grateful to Mane. I suppose they wish him all the best. He's been a very good servant to the club, and I suppose he's hitting that age now where it's more palatable for Liverpool. If you're losing him at 20, 28, in his prime, it's a little bit different to losing him at 30, 31. I still think he'll have a very good career at Bayern Munich, but it's a different career at Bayern Munich. I've got to be honest, I'm not actually convinced as to why Mane is doing this. Maybe it's a financial thing, I don't know. But going from Liverpool, arguably the best team in the world, who's been in the Champions League final quite regularly over the last few years, who's been in title races quite regularly in the best league in the world, why you would want to do that and leave, I don't know. But every player has their own needs and wants, and he's going to do it. And I think for Liverpool, losing a player like Mane, it's always a risk. It's always a risk. But Klopp will have the confidence in the players that he's got. Diaz is already implemented into that Liverpool team, so you could play a front three of Diaz, Jota and Salah, and you know you're going to score a lot of goals. And then you've got Núñez coming in as well. So I think Liverpool will be fine. Having said that, Mane obviously has been regularly mentioned about in top 5 players in the world at times, certainly top 5 players in the league. So Liverpool are losing a very, very, very good player, and they have to establish and move on without him. So I think it is a loss to Liverpool. I think it is a loss to the Premier League, which people never talk about. He's been a very, very good asset for the Premier League, but nothing ever lasts forever. And the whole point about being successful and staying successful, and I've seen this with United in the Sir Alex Ferguson years, is evolution. And most importantly of all, when you think about the Ronaldos and the Van Nistelrooys and the Jaap Stams and the Beckhams and the many others over the years, is that nobody is bigger than the club. And you cannot get down on your hands and knees and beg. If a player wants to go, then a player wants to go. And you've got to be big enough to go, look, we had good times together, let's part in the right way. And I think it looks like Liverpool and Mane are doing that. Do I think that Klopp or Liverpool wanted Mane to go? Probably not. But it's been dealt with in a very mature way, and the least disruption, the better from Liverpool's point of view. So, look, it's been a great career for Mane. Bayern Munich's a good move for him. I personally think he probably should have stayed, but I'm obviously glad that he's not staying as a Man United fan, because it may be a crack in that Liverpool side. But to be honest with you, the way Liverpool adjust and buy players, it probably won't be. Their rivals, Man City, get your comments in about Mane, by the way, below. Bayern Munich, he will be going there. It's a matter of time. I know we spoke about Darwin Núñez on Friday being done, and it wasn't officially done till Monday, but we're in that point now where that deal's basically done. Today, The Athletic talking about Man City and Kalvin Phillips. It's not the first time we've heard this link. He was actually linked to United. That was never going to happen because of the Leeds thing. I also think United wouldn't want to spend the money now that Leeds have stayed up anyway. But for Manchester City, they do want a midfielder. And this really interests me, because Kalvin Phillips, I mean, we're going to talk about Southgate briefly at the end of the show, but Kalvin Phillips is okay. He's a good player. But I watched him play yesterday. I don't think he had a very good game for England at all. And I don't think he's a brilliant player. I think he's a good player. If Man United had signed him, I would have gone, well, he's a good player, but it's not earth-breaking. In fact, I probably would have said something along the lines of, would Man City or Liverpool buy a player like that? And we should be buying players that they want, not the players they don't want. Well, funnily enough, Man City look like they do want to buy him, so maybe I was completely wrong on that. But again, it's an interesting one, because I said this about Grealish a year ago. I really liked Grealish at Villa, and when he goes to Man City, who are a club I don't really like, it's like, well, I'm not going to like Grealish as much now. But I did concede that it's very interesting when Pep Guardiola, who is arguably the best manager in the world, wants to take an English player to his club. That's a big ringing endorsement. And I said that about Grealish, and I've got to say it again about Phillips. Now, is he going to start Phillips? No, I don't see Kalvin Phillips starting as a starter in the biggest games. Grealish didn't start in the biggest games, but he'll certainly get plenty of game time. I'd still imagine that his midfield three will be Rodri, Bernardo Silva and Grealish. But with Gundogan potentially going, I don't know whether he is, Kalvin Phillips gives them certainly a good replacement for Fernandinho. And it's a compliment to Kalvin Phillips that Pep Guardiola feels that he can come and play in his system. And the reason he can play in this system, and I'm not about to start talking about Bielsa, but the style of football that Leeds implemented under Bielsa makes them very adaptable and easy on the eye to football possession-based teams. And that will always be a legacy of Bielsa at Leeds. Whatever people think about Bielsa, he got them playing in a style of football that basically said, you go man for man, and if you get the ball, you deal with it. You don't panic, you pass it. And that is basically what Man City want. Man City don't play like Bielsa's Leeds at all. But Pep Guardiola wants people who are going to take responsibility for their man defensively, and also, when they're on the ball, they're going to play with it confidently. And on top of that, Leeds and Man City, it is about the press. So I can see why Pep likes Kalvin Phillips, and it would be a compliment if they go and get him, because you could probably go and get a player as good as Kalvin Phillips from the continent, from Portugal, from Spain, from other leagues as well, for probably 10, 15, 20 million cheaper than what Man City will play Leeds. But yeah, we'll have to see with that one. I think it's a very interesting one as well. Finally, about Southgate. Look, I've done a video a couple of weeks ago about Southgate before these bad performances. I did videos about Southgate during the Euros, especially after England's draw with Scotland. I find it a bit tiresome, really, when I wake up this morning and see people going, sack Southgate, this, that and the other. I mean, it's just not reading the room. We're not going to sack Gareth Southgate. He took us to the final of the Euros. He's going to get a chance in the World Cup. This FA loves Southgate. This media loves Southgate. He will be managers in the World Cup. He'll probably get us to the quarterfinals and he'll be back for the Euros. The sad thing about Southgate is he shouldn't be the manager. I would sack him tomorrow. I would sack him today. He's not good enough. He's a championship manager at best. But what people don't talk about is the coaching. His coaches are not good either. It's him and his coaching team. They are not good enough. They're not going to leave England and get a job at a Premier League club. None of them. They're not good enough. And, you got Carragher last night. Fine. Stick up for him. He might be a mate. You might believe it. Saying, he's the best manager we've had since Alf Ramsey. And I'm like, say it with your chest, Jamie. Say it with your chest. What Premier League club gives him a job? None of them. That's why he shouldn't be England manager. I know he's took us to a final. I know he's took us to a semi-final. But the England manager should be the best manager in England. He's not good enough to get a job in the Premier League. And there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 English managers in the Premier League. Maybe more, actually. But around 5 or 6. He's not a good coach. And the reality is he's not going to get the sack. But the fact is, whilst he's the manager of England, the talent we've got is wasted. And the football we watch is boring. We've got players who've won Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues. We've got players who would get into other top sides in the world. And I'm talking about club sides. We've got a manager and coaches who should be coaching in the Championship. It's not a good fit. I accept England losing last night because they deserve to lose. I accept England winning games they don't deserve to win. Drawing games they don't deserve to draw. These things happen when you've got a very boring style of football. We've got no rhythm. We've got no system. We've got no structure. We're a very boring team to watch. Even when we win, we're a boring team to watch. And the reason for that is that coaching is abysmal. And until we change that, England haven't got a hope. They haven't got a hope. We might grind our way to a semi-final again, but we ain't going to win the World Cup. And that's the sad thing, because we do have players with the right coaching that you'd go into a tournament and go, why can't we win the World Cup? We've got players who've won this. We've got players who are good enough to start for them. Why can't we win it? And the reason we can't win the World Cup is because of the coaching at the moment. It's as simple as that. Anyway, make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Thanks everyone for watching. Get your comments in below. I'll speak to you on the next one.